everybody. Can you hear me? I think everybody's a little tired, no? Did you get your coffee? First of all, I think there might be some people who don't know what the International Initiative is. And also, there are some people here who are new and maybe don't know too much about our school or too much about Zen Master Seung San. So I just want to talk very briefly about a couple of things that I found very inspirational. But first I want to say that I'm very honored that I could do this project. Actually, Zen Master Song Hyang, Bobby, Zen Master of our school, and the International Council, the IC, they are the head Zen Masters of all the regions in our school globally. They, at their request, actually about 18 months ago, I was given the task to try to come up with something, just do something, to spearhead what we might consider outreach in the Quantum School of Zen. So outreach is a very interesting word. It really means spreading the Dharma. That's a very wide thing. But very important is, first I want to thank, before I explain what it is, I really want to thank Bobby, the IC Zen Masters, and actually the whole project, at least until now, was funded by donations from most of the teachers and some very, very loving and kind members who made some donations because they believed in this idea. So I want to thank them all. It's been an amazing sort of experience. And also, the whole project was executed with mostly volunteers, and the only person we're paying a stipend is Tam Jordan. Many of you know who Tam is, and she's been a long time practitioner. She's a Dharma teacher, and she has devoted many years. She's lived in PZC for a long time. She's coming on Friday, and she's done so much work for the Quantum School of Zen behind the scenes for a long time. And I just want to say that today, the new International Quantum School of Zen website is now online. But if you go to quantumzen.org, our domain, it should go live. It may not right now. It takes about a couple of hours for it to transfer over. So please check out on your phones or computers anytime, sometime later today, and you'll see our new website. It's beautiful. Okay? I'd like to quote one thing from our founding teacher, Zen Master Seung San. This was from a Dharma talk he gave in Poland many, many years ago when the Polish Sangha was forming. It's very simple. He said, "Practicing by myself is no problem. But organization, very important. Strong organization, then our center also becomes strong for each of us. Then helping each other, saving all beings, very easy." So I like that. It's very simple. So he already, from a long time ago, actually he did many, many things before he even came to the West, you know. And first I'd like to talk about what then our school is for some of you who are new to it. And for some of us, maybe we forgot or it's not clear. So first thing, I'd like to just talk about a few principles in our school. Principles meaning they are sort of, I wouldn't say fixed ideas, but real tenets or bone of our organization. The first is that the four groups, the four vargas, nuns, monks, laymen, laywomen, practice together. That's the very basic foundation of our Quantum School of Zen. The second is that we are bound by a teacher's compact, which anyone who becomes a Jidobapsa and further Zen master signs, and this is how we keep our teaching together. The third is that we're unified by our teaching forms. So we have many regions, many countries, and variations of these forms, but the bone of the teaching is unified and shared and constantly revised. So those are our principles. What that gives us is also added treasures. First of which is that we have a very wide global network of Zen centers and Sangha all over the world. You've seen and heard from many of the sharings yesterday, today, the European Sangha, Asian Sangha, North America, now Americas, okay? It's no longer North America, it's the Americas, which includes North America, Canada, Mexico, Central and South America. So our school is growing, reaching out, okay? And in that global network, we have diversity, equality, and mutual respect, and it's all rooted in love and compassion and deeply in our practice. That's the foundation. So, like it or not, we're a family. So I think in the last few days that I've been here, returning to PZC and being in this conference, I feel a lot of love. I feel like I'm back in my family, and that's a wonderful, wonderful feeling. And I think everybody feels that way. I was just talking with Bobby that things feel very smooth, and there's so much generosity and support and faith, and this together action of being together, which is the heart of our teaching, I think is so much a treasure. So, now to some of the facts. The International Initiative was founded about 18 months ago, as I said, and there are just very few things I'd like to clarify. Our school transformed over the years after Zen Master Seung San passed away. Everybody knows he was a very charismatic, strong individual leader. So we had this very strong hierarchy, and all of us followed, and it was wonderful. After he died, things transitioned. We all had to grow up or grow out, okay? And the initiative came along because Bobby wanted to do one thing, which was let's then share further our practice and teaching. Boheng Sanim's sharing earlier, I thought was really, really interesting because he was saying how when he went back to Lithuania as a monk, he was completely an outsider in a Catholic country. And I just realized that for all of us, no matter what our situation or condition, that any practicing situation to attain truth is a difficult one. It doesn't matter if we are in a Buddhist country. That's not easy either. It doesn't matter if you're in a non-Buddhist country. That's not easy either. So it's common. So for Zen students, difficulties are our teachers. So because our Sangha, after Zen Master Seung San passed away, sort of restructured loosely as 3 different regions: Europe, Asia, and North America, which is now the Americas. So we made an effort for this initiative to focus on a few things. The tenets are collaboration, cooperation, and being decentralized, which means that whenever we're working together, everything is sort of parallel. Communication is parallel, communication is consensus, communication is communicating, listening, and coming to some kind of consensus together as much as possible. That's not always easy. Our focus was outreach. Outreach to help us spread the Dharma. Outreach to then further find more resources, whatever they may be, and use those resources to build our communities, wherever we are. I think everybody's doing this to a certain extent anywhere and everywhere in our sanghas. What we specifically wanted to focus on was to develop more ways to use media. So all of you are obviously on social media and using, various apps or technology. So what we want to do is first use whatever we can to be able to communicate and work together a little bit better, communicate a little bit better, and possibly something will grow out of it. I think this conference is already an example of how that was already manifesting, okay? So, but before I talk about the actual initiative, I'd like to talk a little bit about our founding teacher. So this is Zen Master Seung San giving interviews at New Haven. I'd like to look back at our teacher because for any of you who've never met him or who don't know him very well, for me, I think he was an incredibly prolific producer of bodhisattva action, not only by himself, but for other people. So, his teacher, when Zen Master Kobong gave him transmission, the story is that he said, now your job is to go spread Korean Buddhism to the rest of the world. And actually, Zen Master Seung San very simply tried to do that his whole life. Actually, he only tried to fulfill the mission that his teacher had entrusted him with. There are a few things that many people don't know about his early years while he was in Korea, before he came to the United States in 1972. So, actually, I want to show you this picture. I know they don't look very happy, some of them. But this picture is very interesting to me because very recently, Won Hye S님, actually, who was earlier sharing, he had a very interesting opportunity to interview one Korean layman, Jiam Gosanim. Jiam Gosanim was one of Zen Master Seung San's students, and he's not here, he's not in this picture. But I want to briefly explain the story. He was Zen Master Seung San's secretary and attendant and student when Zen Master Seung San first went to Japan and made a Zen center there, a very small Zen center in Tokyo. This was in the, I think, late 60s. But the reason the Zen center appeared in Japan was because that time Zen Master Seung San was abbot of Hwagesa in Seoul, and he was working in the Choge order. So much of the work that he was doing before he came to the US was he actually helped restructure the Choge order when it was being established. There was reformation in the order basically after the Korean War. When there was a lot of transition in Korean society, he helped reestablish the order. The second is that he actually established the Buddhist newspaper in Korea, which still continues to this day. And not only that, he established Buddhist chaplaincy in the military. Korean men have to go to mandatory military service, and he understood many Sunims, once they go to the army, they disrobe. So he created this chaplaincy system because he found the chaplaincy system in the American US military very functional. So he adapted many of these things in name and form. And then what he did was, at that time, it was after the Korean War, and 1945 was when Korea was released from annexation from Japan. And so this is about 20 years after the annexation was ended. A lot of the bones of Japanese people who had died in Korea were found in different parts of Korea. So 4,000 of these bones were found in Seoul, And some of them were found underneath Hwagesa when they were trying to do reconstruction of some buildings. So at that time, there was a lot of controversy around those kinds of things because there was a lot of anti-Japanese sentiments. And so people were saying, oh, just get rid of them or whatever. And he decided to collect all those bones, make a big 49-day ceremony, a chesa. Then he wanted to return all these bones to Japan very respectfully. So the Japanese government recognized that gesture. And eventually, the bones were returned, and he was lauded for this particular experience, for this particular gesture that he made. At that time, reparations, like rewards for this kind of action were given, but they didn't want to give it to Korea. But eventually, very interesting, Daesansune received almost what might be $700,000 worth of money at the time. That year, the export amount for Japan, their export total was $2 million. So $700,000 is a huge amount of money, even for the Japanese, to give to a Korean monk. So actually, what happened was he was invited to Japan, and they let him have a temple there. But when he went there, he had no money. I don't know what he did with this money. He obviously gave it away very quickly to the temple. So when he went to Japan, he didn't have anything. He had a little temple, and this is when this Gosanim, Jiam Gosanim, was his student. But very interesting, at that time, he decided very quickly he wanted to have a Zen conference. So he made the first, it may not be completely true, but the first real Zen conference. So he invited the biggest, baddest, famous roshis in Japan, of Soto, Rinzai, even the Pure Land tradition Buddhist leaders. And apparently the Dharma room was about half the size of this stage. And when these roshis appeared at the Zen Center, they all came in fancy cars. So the roshis in Japan, like these sunims, they're like celebrities. They have temples, they have about collective, for each order, they have about like a 10,000 acre kind of lot in the middle of the city, which means they have very powerful sanghas, supporters and wealth. So they all appeared in this little tiny house, Zen Center, and they all came in, so only the roshis could sit inside the Buddha hall, and the entire entourage had to wait outside. And this Gosanim was, I actually interviewed him once before too, and when he talks about this time, he's almost like tears in his eyes, and he says, but you know what? Zen Master Seung-san was the strongest out of all of them. And he was also the youngest. He was probably around in his 30s, mid or late 30s. And all the other roshis were much older. But they all recognized his enlightenment. They all recognized that he was this incredibly enlightened person. And one other person who was there was, and I don't know if he's the one here, but is a famous Taiwanese monk called Bai Shangfasi. And he's a very renowned teacher, especially for having championed higher learning for nuns, and eventually creating dual ordination for nuns and monks in the Chinese order in Taiwan. Yes, I think he's not him, but the Faishang Fasi is not in this picture, I think. Yeah. So anyway, I want to share this picture because this is the first, I think, time when he wanted to bring Korean, Japanese, and Chinese Buddhism together. So he started from Asia. Then this is the picture that I really love, which I call the Zen Giants. So then when he came to America, he connected with the great teachers in America, Aitken Roshi, Maizumi Roshi, and Bernie Glassman Roshi. And so this is now from Asia. He went to the West. So it's East and West meet together. And finally, he had all of these. As some of you know who you were here during the Whole Single Flower in the early era, he was creating ecumenical movements. So he included the whole world. He decided to go from Asia, East and West, and now the whole world, and to all religions. So when I look at this, I think Zen Master Seung San, he had a very interesting perspective. He had a very big picture. He had a universal picture. He had a universal picture, but he did it through action. It wasn't just the theory or speech. This is my favorite picture. This is Zen Master Seung San in Russia in 1990 at the Global Forum on Human Survival. So it's a little bit like the conference we're having today. And I like this picture because I sort of imagine if he was standing like this here right now, what would he say to us? I think he'd be very happy. He would have the same smile. Right? So, but when I see all the things he had done in these outside forums, not just the practice that we do in our Dharma room, not just the kelches we sit year after year after year, or the ketos that we do, or all the formal practices we do, but I also look at what he does in the flesh for the world. And that's very inspiring because it's not easy to do. It's not easy to get, a bunch of different religious leaders together. So for some of you who know Musang Sanim, he was Daesan Sanim's secretary for many years. He wanted to come here today, but he eventually couldn't. So I have a little quote for him. He said, Zen Master Seung San had big ideas, big mind. He would teach us to be meticulous, practice really strongly, sit kelche. Then, in the next breath, he'll say, nobody's doing anything about world peace, so I must do it. So then he would decide to fly to the Vatican, to Rome, meet the Pope, and then he would invite him to come to Providence Zen Center with many other religious leaders, take all their clothes off, go to the hot bath, bathe together in silence, then come out and eat meal together in silence. And that was his proposal. So according to Musang Sanim, the Pope didn't quite think that was a good idea. But the message came across. So that was our teacher, and in a way, I think it was already planted in all of us who have been practicing, and through the teachers and practitioners who continually come, that this is our way to practice, use our energy, and share with the whole world. And now, this is from the last Global Single Flower Conference in Korea at Musangsa. That's our Sangha, and that's all of you. So we say our teaching is then as understanding your true self. What am I? So for all of you, we're having this conference on ecology, on climate change, various things. What is most important for all of you? What is it? Is it on individual levels, your local Zen center levels? Is that what's most important? Is it on national levels that are hurting the most? Or is it something also on a global level? I think the ecology of the planet right now is telling us that, yeah, actually the global situation is our responsibility. What is most needed? I guess is the question. So, somebody said that about 10, 15 years ago, the most important thing is time. But I think it's not that, because from what I heard yesterday or today, even in the climate change conference, all the stickies that are up here, you know, our ideas, our concerns, the questions, they all, for me, in my experience, point to only one thing. The most important thing we need right now is clarity. There's so much unclarity in everything. So that's very interesting. Everything is becoming more and more unclear. Everything is too much information. The late Zen Master Ubong used to call it, you know, we're talking about ecology here and climate change, so we want clarity in that. But Ubong S님, many times in his talks would say, well, but let's look at the ecology of our own mind. What's really happening to our own mind? So all of us already have the seed of this Dharma light. Otherwise, I don't think anybody would be here today. Zen is not an easy practice. All of us have some taste of what it means to wake up. But actually, right now, I think we just need to make it brighter, stronger, more powerful, and it has to extend further to more and more beings, more and more people, as much as possible. Here's our website. Eduardo just showed me. It's online. So. I just want to show you, it's hard to see, but the bottom three pictures show 3 regions that you can click onto. This is the lower part where you see upcoming global events and other kinds of the online Sangha, and also any kind of teaching activity that can be up there. This is our online Sangha, which the membership has just started along with the website right now. So anyone who's not a school member but lives in a place where there's no Zen center, you may apply to be a member of the online Sangha. I'd like to share that there are a few new countries through the online Sangha, which we are extending to right now, where there are no Zen centers or no teachers. They are Brazil, Chile, China, Ireland, Sweden, Bangladesh, Philippines, and Qatar. I'd like to say, for that, I really want to thank Jason Quinn, Popsanim, for doing a really amazing job starting the live stream week after week after week. And now we have about 7 teachers who will give Kongan interviews to people who are coming online. And they're all waiting to become members. So as I said, the International Initiative is a place where we're creating, through media, to begin with, a hub. So it's a place where we can communicate, create forums, discussions, and brainstorm as a Sangha globally how we can work together first. It's not about one group or one place or one region or anybody just controlling or you know, I would say masterminding anything, nothing like that. It's actually really about how can we collaborate together. You know, what are the things we're not understanding about each other? And from there, we're just needing to clarify things first. So I'd like to ask all of you, we've got lots of good input about ecology, and it's relating to our life, even in our practicing life. But I'd like to request all of you to take a little bit of time, if you can, to just look at the board back there. There are a few categories that are questions about the vision for our school. If any of you are interested, that is, in sharing ideas or questions. And I'd like to say why this is important, because We're going to use this data, because that's all this is Sangha's input. We use this data for our teachers meeting next week. Teachers, all of us, ourselves, have to hear what you have to say, what really bothers you, what really you guys think you need to support your practice, your Sangha, and your life, and your community. Then it'll help us do our job better, first of all, to help you. Many things are going to happen in terms of through the through the international initiative, if we can go forward, that is, because technically it expires now. 18 months is over. So I hope that all of you might find the willingness to support it in various ways, whether it's financial, whether it's your expertise, your technology, your skills, or just your mind to volunteer and help. There are many, many opportunities for all of us as a Sangha to be useful in this endeavor. And I think the main thing is that we can be creative together by sharing more together. So I'm almost done. The last thing I'd like to do is share something colorful. So this is called a rainbow lotus. So I chose this picture because it's kind of kitschy and a little bit Asian, so I thought I should add some Asian flavor. But anyway, as I said, for us to do anything beneficial, we need Sangha. It's, as many people have said, I think Sanims have said, it's not something one person can do alone. It's not something one country can do alone or one region can do alone. But it's something we can do together. And that makes whatever we do far more powerful, far more wise, far more full of love and compassion. And in order to do that, in order to ramp up our Dharma energy, I think we should do one thing, and that is to chant Great Dharani together.